Hello everyone, welcome to the Horticulture Learning Center here at Strawberry Bank Museum. Today we are diving into a how-to process on wreath making. Now you can certainly start this process by starting with these metal wreath backs that allow you to really from scratch create your own designs. You can source these through all sorts of different vendors. Or to save time, you can certainly find these evergreen wreath backs with all sorts of greens, if not single greens, combination greens, and that allows you to save a little bit of time. Evergreen's already in, so you can really incorporate extra layers of textures and colors on top. Let's get in step by step to this process, something fun that you can do at home. Let's get into it. Now to start any type of wreath, you only need a few things. Mostly what you need is your botanicals, your ingredients that you'll put into your design. But first of all, you want to source a few things, including a nice pair of pruners, wire that allows you to tie in your supplies, okay? This comes thick or thin. Some people prefer thin wire, a lot easier to flex and wrap around things. Thicker wire like this is sometimes difficult on the hands, so just keep that in mind. And certainly the wreath back if you're starting from scratch, if not the evergreen wreath back that allows you to save a little bit of time. On the left here, really quickly, are the picks that a lot of our volunteers have been creating, which will allow us to quickly pick in really cool ingredients like these Chinese lanterns. Really, really cool orange color. We do grow lanterns on site organically here at Strawberry Bank. And last but not least, we also have this really cool status that will allow us to also pick in last minute color, really delicate stuff. Now at first, you really want to focus on sourcing real amounts of texture for your wreath back, okay? Even when you're sourcing these, you're incorporating additional greens, offering a lot of layers of different textures so people can really see those layers of creativity beyond kind of that single evergreen. So putting diversity within your designs will offer those textures in contrast with colors and different types of botanicals. Let's grab some ingredients and we'll get started step by step with this cool, fun process. Now, if you're sourcing evergreen wreath backs like this one, the process is pretty quick and easy once you start sourcing and organizing the ingredients that you'll incorporate into the evergreen wreath back. Now, often what's easy to kind of stage your design is to start cutting pieces to size that would basically equate to what would be practical in your wreath back. So for instance, the juniper here, that's often woody, I'll often cut back to these small pieces, workable pieces, a little bit of light there, but you can actually see those awesome berries that we certainly want to expose with that design. So whether I'm kind of staging it down here or up here, I'll simply place it in a section that I think will work and allows me to in process kind of look at the whole kind of whirl or circle of what I'm thinking, okay? Keep in mind, you can always rogue out or cut out any excess wood that you don't want, or certainly training stuff within and making sure it's exposed with what greens are already inside, okay? So I'm just gonna start laying that in, thinking about a design, but also consider just all the texture that's already here, okay? For instance, we don't want to put this on top of this. Let's say the wire goes here. It basically mats down all this amazing texture that we've already purchased for our design. So you really want to think of layering and sustaining that natural kind of airy aspect of all these greens, including what you incorporate, what you add, okay? So that's a little bit of juniper. We've got a few other pieces, maybe on the right side, maybe at the base or top. We simply lay it on top to continue just staging our design. Like mountain laurel here, and certainly a lot of wood with these cuttings, but I'll probably cut things down and certainly add a little bit of texture into empty sections, okay? And while I stick things in, again, I'm simply staging things. Once I'm all the way around with a particular design, I'll then start utilizing the wire to literally attach, okay? So we always want to consider some type of contrast with color. We all know this one, right? Yes, this is holly. You can find holly with berries or without. It's a little bit more expensive to buy them with berries, but completely worth it as we see that contrast working really, really nicely, that red and green, okay? So similar to other ingredients, I'm simply staging this and placing it within holes that I think will work. I like to work in odd numbers, 3s and 5s and 7s when it comes to my designs. So if I select one particular type of foliage or flower, I try to place those odd numbers to look kind of naturalistic within those designs. Maybe a little holly on the upper right section here like this. And again, I'm just trying to incorporate all the way around. Don't think that this is the only way to do this. Maybe left and right flares of color and texture. Maybe you want to put a bow on this wreath. You can either put the bow on first or reserve a hole or spot for your bow. Bows can be at the top, the side, the base, all sorts of different designs. Just get creative at home, okay? A few other pieces here to incorporate, including different types of foliage, okay? So this is silver tip. So this allows you to really flex those colors, whether it's the top portion that's nice and green that sometimes will disappear in contrast with other types of foliage, but some things with the underside being silver or different color, often lighter color, you can flip that over for real cool contrast with other darker greens. Otherwise, you'll try to incorporate a lot of diversity with multiple greens, but they'll disappear because of that similar color, green on green, okay? So just keep that in mind. Again, you want that diversity, so you want different characteristics within your wreath, and it just kind of bounces with all those textures. All right, just keep that in mind. Now let's get into the procedure of using the wire, okay? Let's get a little bit closer and I'll show you a little bit about the tricks of actually incorporating those ingredients into this wreath back. We still have a few of those aspects of staging our design on top, so just keep that in mind, kind of a visual representation of those steps that you'll complete with the wire, okay? Now this wire is very easy to use. I like the thin stuff, really flexible, easy on the hands as opposed to the thick wire. Now let's say I want to attach the holly. You can either cut it down to size or cut it once it is actually attached. You'll often have excess wood or excess foliage that you want a little trim out, possibly, okay? I'm gonna get the juniper out of the way just momentarily and start this wreath, okay? I'm gonna move the holly as well. Now, the easiest way to start a wreath, it could be the bare wreath back or these evergreens, is to simply attach your wire to a sturdy section. Again, we don't want to attach on top of all this texture. We just want to kind of fish this wire into the middle, tie it around real sturdy, but we do not cut the wire, okay? And I will explain in a moment. So once we attach this, we are off and running. Sometimes people will tie a knot to be very sturdy. You really want the start of this to be very sturdy, okay? And each tie to be very sturdy. Otherwise, things are loose, and certainly if these decorations go outside with wind and snow, things will fall apart if it's not real sturdy. Sometimes I'll tie a knot and then twist, and then excess I'll actually tie around that main piece of the wire. Now, throughout the process, you are not going to cut the wire until the very end, okay? If you cut every time, it becomes very tedious to reattach this with every bundle or every botanical you incorporate, okay? Now, the mechanics of this are very simple. Once you have your material in the spot that you'd like it, you're literally placing it within that spot and wrapping a few times around, keeping in mind to try to train in between the foliage that already exists, okay? Just a few times goes a long way, and that piece is done, okay? Now at this stage, you can kind of trim something out that's below the wire, or you can actually cover excess wood, all right? Right-handed people will often work this way. Left-handed people will often work that way, okay? Now you want to start moving either left or right and continue your design, hopefully consistently all the way around this circle, okay? If you stay in one spot, you can just imagine logically the material will get thicker and thicker in one location. So as I layer here, I'm starting to move this way. And again, if you're left-handed, it's often the other way, okay? So second piece, I am actually going to consider just covering up this wood, maybe with the laurel here, okay? And sometimes small pieces go a long way, especially if I'm trying to cover something. Staging it like this, and then finding my wire, maybe a little bit closer, maybe a few more pieces of this, just to make it a little bit thicker. So if you don't have laurel, you can certainly do this with other types of foliage. And again, we're trying to cover up the excess wood and certainly that modern wire that we'd like to hide. It is green, it is quite hidden, but I really like putting things on top of that ribbon. And again, we are shifting down the wreath or side by side. And again, couple circles around, training that wire in between. You can see I'm kind of shifting it in and out of those greens. And the second right and the second one, wire around, and it's pretty sturdy at that point, okay? Again, don't cut your wire. With each section of botanicals going in, you're incorporating round a couple times, 2 to 3 times, and continuing around that circle, okay? As you put more things in, it will certainly come to life. At this stage, I think I want the holly at this point, okay? You can start putting things on the outside or inside, but keep in mind, you don't want to flare things out too much outside here or inside here. If you do that too much, you start to lose the look of a wreath circle, okay? You start to fill that negative space either here in the center circle or outside here, and more you'll lose this kind of circle. So I try to be here in the middle or in the inner circle, but not coming out too much, okay? So that looks pretty good as opposed to on top of what I've already put in. I don't want to hide what I've already put in, so I'm going to shift that to the right or bottom or inner, but I think right on the outside looks pretty good like that. All right, so again, couple loops with the wire and I'll attach that third piece, okay? Again, trying to fish it through a little bit. One more time. Try to start shifting right or left, okay? So you then can incorporate more and more this way or this way. So I'm starting to turn the wreath a little bit as I shift more and more down the design, okay? One more loop here, and the holly is in, okay? Now, sometimes you want to keep in mind if your designs start to come to life in a certain way, you might want to keep in mind where your hook is going to be. Sometimes we'll do that at the very end, kind of rotating it and seeing what the top is or what mostly ideal the top is. So the top of the wreath is where you're going to put at the very end your hook, and that's where it's going to attach to a door or a mantelpiece or something like that, okay? So keep that in mind. We're putting most of these types of wreaths on our outside doors here at Strawberry Bank, okay? Turning it slightly a little bit, I'm almost to that second piece of juniper. But before I get there, I'm thinking of a little bit of silver tip here. So notice that silver tip on the underside of leaves as opposed to the upper portion, which might disappear or not really be that visible. But use your judgment, it's up to you. Just get creative, okay? Okay, everyone, this is pretty much finished. At the very end, before we actually cut our wire, we want to kind of take a look all the way around. Are there any holes that we can incorporate last minute details into? Is there exposed wire that we can cover? Okay. Now, often at the very last stage before you cut your wire, there is sometimes a hole around that last section that you incorporated in. I'm not sure if you can notice that, but there is a bit of exposed wire here. Right next to that last bundle that I attached, okay? Sometimes I'll just kind of push things out, incorporate a nice combo bundle into this section. Let's say if we have an extra couple pieces of something, for instance, I've got a little bit of holly and spruce available, I might kind of tuck it in here and finish off my wreath that way. Therefore, I hide that last hole, hide the wire, and then tie off my wreath to finish, okay? Now, after you incorporate your last bundle, you're going to provide yourself with a nice excess amount of wire in order to tie around a couple times, but if not a knot, a real sturdy twist on the back of your wreath. This is a very important stage of the process. If you do not tie this sturdy, often material will start to fall out over time, whether in wind or rain or snowfall. Just keep that in mind. Make sure each and every rotation through the process is nice and sturdy, and especially that last knot that allows you to get rid of your roll of wire and certainly attach your hook. Looking absolutely beautiful so far. Now that this has been tied off, you can see the roll of wire is now separate completely from the wreath. We now need to finish it off with a hook on the back, okay? Sometimes you want to put this on a table or have someone hold it for you while rotating your design, okay? As we rotate that design, we kind of keep in mind what's going to look better on the top versus the bottom versus the sides of the design. I'm thinking I'm going to put my hook at the top at this section. So upon rotating it, just get your own opinion on where the top should be. And that's the spot where you want to put your hook on the back of the wreath, okay? Now, making a hook is pretty simple, okay? Now, I hope you can see these details. I've got a nice piece of wire here, okay? Now, often you don't want to just create a loop like this, okay? It's not going to be sturdy enough on the back, okay? You literally want to actually create a loop like this, okay? If not, creating a double wire or triple wire to actually make a nice sturdy loop, okay? So just keep in mind, once you actually tie wire on the back, a little surplus goes a long way to just kind of work it in. You don't want a single wire loop like that. You really want to double up, and sometimes we'll actually twist to allow even more of that sturdiness on the back, okay? And you certainly want to consider a loop this size, okay? Just imagine trying to put up a decoration and the loop, you know, is super, super small like this. Sometimes that works with small nails, but for larger nails, for doors and other locations, it's really, really tricky sometimes to get that up onto your nail, okay? You can always start with a larger loop on the back of your wreath, and then once you are comfortable with that size, you can always twist it down if you need a little bit of a smaller knot. But you always want to start a little bit big, and then you can always make those adjustments down to a smaller loop on the back, okay? But above all, you just don't want to make your loop on the back too simple, okay? So just keep that in mind. Once you create your loop on the back, place it on your door or any location. A sturdy structure, loop, and certainly the design will allow you to have these awesome decorations for at least a month, if not more. Great thing about these outdoor type wreaths with lots of natural decor, they will last for months because they can resist the cold, the wet, the snow, the wind. Really, really nice designs for more long-term aspects of decor on the outside of your house or another outside location. Hope you have fun with this process at home. Let's get into a few tricks with the bear wreath back. A little trickier if you want to get very creative from scratch. Let's get into a few of those tips as opposed to something like this. All right, everyone. Now, beginning a wreath back from scratch is really fun. It offers a lot of creativity because you literally create something from scratch utilizing these metal wreath backs. I've gotten this one started with a few bundles of arborvitae, and you can see that going very well. Now, this is the same method as before, as we went through the process of the evergreen wreath. You know, we are attaching the wire first to one of these cross sections, okay, nice and sturdy tie, and that allows us to step by step put foliage in bundles onto this wreath. Okay, I'm going to continue this process and show you my method, which is basically the same method as we explained before with the initial evergreen wreath that we put all that different foliage into. Now, I usually prep supplies to my right or left, allowing me to grab and incorporate really quickly. Now, arborvitae in the cypress family is very airy, but sometimes it's very woody, so I'll certainly cut out sections that make it a little tricky to go around in a circle pattern, okay? And once you cut those wooden sections out, you'll be able to really bend this and maneuver it throughout your design, okay? Now, same method as before. Once I start tying things into a wreath, I want to cover that wire, that modern material. So again, I'm going in that way with different bundles and trying to hide that wire, okay? Now the wire is again, always attached till the very end, okay? And a couple loops go a long way, all right? Again, I'm shifting around and layering, almost like the scales of a fish or a snake, okay? First bundle goes in, that second bundle goes slightly on top but shifts down, and you basically do the same thing step by step all the way around. And there you have it, everyone. One fresh evergreen wreath back made from scratch. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed the program today. This is Strawberry Bank.